Destiny, thank you for your response. Always love the enthusiasm of the readings and being able to understand if and how they might be impacting our peers, right? Our cohorts as we work through them. I think there's a lot of value in many of the readings we select, and we're always striving to find the best content that's going to stimulate us and help us to locate new ways of understanding and thinking about media, society, communication, and all the things in and around that. Destiny is chiming in on Mattel's TV and American Culture chapter for the week, specifically commenting on maybe the nature of television production and the excessive repetition that we find in some programs, especially the popular ones. Okay, so the more popular a show, the longer it runs, typically, the more episodes they continue to produce, and that repetition is exhausting sometimes, okay? And this is, there are issues that come with a TV show the longer they run. Typically, we see a successful show tend to peak in its creativity as early as the 4th or 5th season. And that's why so many shows, if they're able to get past that sort of season 3, season 4 hump, in which there are both creative and economical circumstances that create a legitimate hump, that after that point of, a season 4, a season 5, you tend to see the creative side in a bit of a decline. Although you can have shows that last so long, they have multiple spikes or multiple peaks in creative form, and usually that happens because maybe around that 4th, 5th, 6th season the casting starts to turn over. These performers, these artists, they grow tired of the same content over and over. So if you get sick of watching the same hour program on a weekly basis, think about if you're a professional performer embodying that character for 5, 10, 12 or 15 or more years, and what does that feel like for them if they're not creatively stimulated to embody that same persona, and that's why you see the most successful shows come to an end. It's usually, once it gets past a point of creative decline and it's just going and going, it's usually the performer, the artists involved that are ready to move on. They're ready to do something else. Your response about, you have an interesting response for us, so I'll leave that playground to others. How would you come up with an original show? I think that the ultimate the double-edged sword there is what is original anymore. We've covered so much ground. There are many untapped areas I think a person could look out for, but also when we think of entertainment as a business strategy, you have to have a sound business model, or else you're not going to have the investors willing to invest in your business, let alone the audience. And so for the majority of producers, they have to find sustainable content. And how do they find sustainable content? Well, they look at what's been successful. In other words, they repeat the form. They repeat what someone else has already done well. And that's why, CBS will just crank out procedural after procedural, traditional sitcom after traditional sitcom. They've found an extremely successful business model, okay? The same with, say, the History Channel, initially produced all of these docuseries and things that would have heavy male narration and picture slideshows and whatnot, and then they had to evolve. Okay, they hit their peak there, and then they got into the reality TV game, and you started having all of these reality TV shows that were built around, textual artifacts that are being found and appraised and celebrated for their quote-unquote history, and Pawn Stars, American Pickers, that sort of thing. And I don't know what. Oh, now in recent years they've moved into these, with streaming services gaining so much popularity and dramatic series and period shows having a ton of popularity, like Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, things like that. They're willing to risk more and invest more in dramas like Vikings and Hatfields and McCoys, and there are some other shows that History Channel continues to produce. I think they're trying to be open to that audience, and there is some semblance of history still being shared there on that channel. Maybe. Surely they employ at least one historical consultant per drama that they're making. In any event, you know, I think that ultimate catch-22 is you artists want to go to mediums where they can expand their creative potential, but the business side of that will always erect certain restrictions. And got me thinking about an oldie but a goodie, a classic essay that I've read a time or two in another life, and so Kenneth Burke's The Philosophy of Literary Form. It's a collection of essays. Old theorist, right? Rest in peace. And one of his essays that's collected in this volume is titled The Nature of Art Under Capitalism. And old Kenneth Burke puts together a couple of formulations, right? He's theorizing about the nature of things, and in this instance, the nature of art under capitalism. And we can relate this to what you're talking about here. And I can't share too much. It would just... the problem with Burke is it tends to be a little too dense for his own good, right? Great writing, but I don't know if it translates across so many channels. But a couple of excerpts from this chapter. I'm looking at my version, page 314. He outlines this argument, okay? And he's basically has these 5 key points, 6 points, 7 points that he's making. And I'm just going to flip through the pages here to read these 6 points. First, work patterns. And so see if you can, follow the strands. Work patterns and ethical patterns are integrally related. Second, the ethical values of work are in its application of the competitive equipment to cooperative ends. Now, each is the whole subsection. Breaking this down, maybe we should seek out and locate a PDF, right, to make some more sense of this, so you can read it at your own, all that free time we have when we're not screening things and streaming stuff. 3, under capitalism, this basic integration between work patterns and ethical patterns is constantly in jeopardy and even frequently impossible. So he's talking about these tensions, right? The tensions to, as Destiny puts it, create wholly original content with no restrictions versus the nature of the restrictions that come when you've got to manage a budget, when you've got investors. You have people to answer to. They will pull your show. They will remove you, right, as a showrunner, as a creator, as a writer. There are limitations. Fourth, such a frustration to the combative cooperative fusion under capitalism is a grave stimulus to wars. Now, this is where Burke's getting into one of his sort of early mid-20th century critiques, okay, of the way the nature of things and economic conditions coming out of wartime experiences firsthand. 5, pure, quotation marks, pure art tends to promote a state of acceptance. However, number 6, pure art is safest only when the underlying moral system is sound. All right, and so a lot of this has to do with the nature of propaganda, art as propaganda, propaganda as art. And so he's critiquing that and saying when art is used as propaganda, its ethics are violated. We could think about television the same way. When the artistic expression of a show or a program or a personality is exploited, when it becomes intentionally something much more clandestine than pure artistic aesthetic entertainment, then it is something we can put a microscope on, or should, and critique. And then 7th, our thesis is by no means intended to imply that pure or acquiescent art should be abandoned, right? So don't give up hope. Yeah, that's a mouthful of stuff, and you know, hopefully there is a couple of good bits in there that stuck with someone. You can reach out for the Philosophy of Literary Form. I actually think there are enormous transcript-sized workings of that available online. Check it out. Seek and acquire, just as you seek and acquire your favorite programs. Thanks.